This is Media Philosophy, and we're exploring the deeper side of Fight Club, which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 10, 15 years, the movie, the book just completely gets banned, gets blacklisted, because it really goes to show, in a sense, how easy it would be to kind of overthrow the system. And it really does kind of give the blueprints for the common people to kind of go out and just enact Project Mayhem, because really there's no central leadership except for Tyler Durden. It really is just a shared common goal. Well, it really is just a charismatic leader going out, finding a bunch of willing soldiers to carry out his mission. And he was able to find his willing soldiers so easily because so many people in the Fight Club universe are dissatisfied. The main character, we'll just call him Jack. I mean, that's what people just refer him as, right? But even the main character in Fight Club, he is the epitome of this. He's unhappy, he's not sleeping, he's probably not eating well. Sure, on the surface, he seems successful. I'm sure if he wanted to, he could get some sort of relationship. But you can't shake just how empty a lot of Western living is. And Fight Club just kind of shows what happens when enough people get sick of the system and do something about it. And again, all it takes is the underclass of society to have some class consciousness, have some class solidarity, and real quickly, the whole system flips. Just like the speech that Tyler or Jack gives when they kidnap or they don't kidnap, but they just put the fear into that police commissioner to call off searching for the whole Fight Club, underground Fight Club scene. And Tyler gives that speech saying, we pump your gas, we serve your food, we protect you while you sleep and things like that. And it is true. The people that just do the dirtiest jobs, that do the most thankless jobs in society, if they just talk to each other, can completely change everything, which is probably why the people in charge are trying to go so hard into AI, because once you can get AI, you can you don't really need the people as much anymore, and it takes away some of that power. But that's the previous videos on conspiracy theories and AI and whatnot. Again, I'm still infected by that. But it's still the whole same thing why I would think that they would want those kind of systems in place to stop Fight Club situations from happening. But anyways, again, when the population is so dissatisfied, but it's one thing for a population to be dissatisfied, because populations are always going to be dissatisfied. There's always going to be a bottom rung of the ladder in society. Well, hopefully it's not always that way, but it seems just in any social group, in any sort of in any sort of social group, in any sort of society, there's always a bottom rung. There's always a lower class of people. And, actually the kind of cool thing about Fight Club is it actually doesn't stop just at the low class of society, because when Jack does turn himself in at the end of the movie, there's those two police officers, detectives. I mean, they looked like they were actual detectives or higher up than just police officers if they were working the Project Mayhem case. But even they were sympathetic to the cause. It's kind of like how when Luigi went out into the whole United Healthcare thing, people rallied around him, because when you have a person, a symbol to personify the injustices of a system, it's hard not to kind of look at that person as a hero, which is why a lot of people do even look at someone like Tyler Durden as a hero. And it's hard, again, especially when you're younger, it's hard not to see Tyler Durden as some really cool, heroic, positive figure. One, it's Brad Pitt, and everyone just loves Brad Pitt. This is probably like peak Brad Pitt, honestly, in terms of physique, style, whatever. And, there's just the clothes that he wears, even though it's funny that part of the message that he preaches is that you're not your clothes, you're not your outfit, which is true, that whole anti-consumerism message, because one of the things that keeps most of the general population working is the whole rat race, is the whole promise of a carrot at the end of that stick. You know, it's you can buy nice cars, you can buy shiny watches, you can get a beautiful house, but that's not for everybody. Again, just like Tyler said, we were all led to believe we can be rock stars, movie stars, whatever, but it can't be true. Not everyone can be on Disney Channel. You can't have an economy based on that. And even I am still inflicted with that hope that maybe somebody will watch this, keep watching, enjoy themselves, and check out more media philosophy. You know, I'm even infected with that. I don't know if it's hope, false hope, lie. I don't know. I guess it depends on who you ask. If it's Tyler Durden, he's going to say it's a lie. And I think a lot of people in 2025 would agree with him. But here's why I'm not scared of making this video. While I do think the potential of a Project Mayhem is super easy to pull off in theory, it just, again, takes action, it takes class consciousness, and it takes class coordination. It takes a little coordination, but there's no way we're going to achieve any of that. We have Fight Club so we can live out our fantasies. That's honestly probably why they let Fight Club exist, because if they took it away, then those ideas can brew. But because we have Fight Club, we can live out our renegade, anti-establishment, bad boy fantasy through Brad Pitt as Tyler Durden. So, you know, you have to give children a little bit of what you're against so they don't go too hardcore into it. You know, that's probably what Big Daddy government has to do with some things, with some pieces of media like Fight Club. But while I am not worried about some sort of Project Mayhem type situation developing in actual real life, is one, people are way too connected to their cell phones. If there was a Fight Club today and Tyler Durden's giving his little speech, the first rule of Fight Club is you can't talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is somebody would be recording that on their phone and going live on Instagram or something. That's how quickly it would get shut down. The whole point is they couldn't find these people. And I guess that was kind of key of that time period of, I think the Fight Club probably came out in the mid-90s, late 90s, whatever. But you didn't have the mass surveillance opportunities as you do now. And it's funny because it's all willingness too. If you could get people to just leave their phones at home, go to some random bar in some random edge of town and start fighting each other to build the brothership of bond, the bonded brothership through combat, then maybe Project Mayhem might start taking shape. But as it is now, no. What if I want to take a live reel of myself eating at some Chinese restaurant? I can't risk that to join some sort of revolutionary change, okay? It's not worth it. You gotta weigh risk with reward. And I honestly believe that's the thing that would stop any sort of grassroots, violent, radical takeover, is the fact that it's gonna be so easy to spot and shut down in 2025 thanks to messaging apps, because all you need is one person to talk, one person to post something, and the whole house of cards comes crumbling down. People are still going to commit violent acts. They're just not going to be organized. And that's the key thing when it comes to, and this is going to be messed up to say, but when it comes to the grand scale, while a mass shooting, somebody who pulls off a horrific event, while it could be incredibly tragic on an individual level, on a community level, it can change so many lives so quickly. On a grand societal scale, we've shown that mass shootings aren't really going to move the needle, aren't really going to challenge the status quo, business as normal. And that's what society or the status quo wants people to do. They want people to take their anger out on just randoms at schools, in defenseless areas. They just want that anger to bubble up and be taken out on the wrong people. That's permissible. That's expected in some sort of budget somewhere, in some effed up. I mean, clearly we've just already said that that is okay as a society. We even have a name for them. We call them lone wolves. we even try to kind of make them sound cool. We almost kind of encourage it. We call them lone wolves situations or whatever, and that's kind of messed up. Why don't we call them like loser incels? Because that will drive the people, instead of acting out and doing these horrific acts alone, to get together and to do a Project Mayhem sort of situation. So it's really messed up that there are probably a lot of Tyler Durden type figures out there who do commit terrible atrocities, and the whole point of society is basically to weed them out so they do it alone, kind of put a strainer in and pull those people out, whether it's picking them up before or after they commit the atrocities. But the important thing is they don't talk to each other and create that sort of network. And I don't think it's possible. Again, I feel like this is not going to ignite anything, any kind of movement, because no one is going to actually talk offline. People aren't even able to date anymore offline, let alone try to recruit for some terrorist organization, domestic terrorist fight club organization. That's just not going to happen. Can kids today even ask for ketchup at the counter without having to speak with a mental health counselor first? And I'm not knocking them, because I'm no better. I'm making videos alone by myself instead of actually going out and experiencing the real world. So this is not a knock on the general population. It's more just stating a fact. Other countries might be able to pull this off, but in America, no. We'll stick to Netflix. Again, we want to live out vicariously through characters. We want to watch the Tyler Durdens on the screens, watch those buildings fall at the very end while the credit scores all reset to 0 while the Pixies play Where's My Mind, and just feel good instead of actually going out to do it, because that's actually really hard and risky, and it could be painful. And honestly, I don't want to get punched in the face if joining or creating that kind of Project Mayhem cult. I don't know if they had a sort of Tyler Durden army. I don't know if they had like an official name or whatever. But if I need to go out and actually go into like fist fights weekly, count me out. And sure, maybe like someone like Joe Rogan or Andrew Tate might call me a sissy, because I don't want to go and fight bare-fisted other men shirtless in a basement while other men circle around and watch. Whatever, that's just me. Maybe there's a way we can find that community. Maybe the one thing that people look at Fight Club and really resonate for isn't the whole terroristic Project Mayhem message, but just the community of guys hanging out, being shirtless, wrestling around with each other. Maybe that's what really men nowadays are missing, because that, I would say, is one of the key themes in Fight Club, is the different communities that a person needs to be a part of. There's the work community, which is not going to be fulfilling ultimately at the end of the day if that's all you have. And then he was so devoid in community that he faked illnesses to join this support group of people that had like a shared connection, and that felt good, but it was all based on a lie. And then Jack finally found Fight Club, where he could finally just be around people. And that's, at least in the story where I would say Jack was at his highest, was before things got too crazy, before recruits started showing up at the house and whatnot. Jack was peak content, kind of once everything got started, probably right around the time Lou comes down and Tyler gets his face beat in. That's probably the time when Jack was the happiest, because he had that community at that point. He stopped going to those therapies. He didn't even think about Martha. He was pretty content because he had other people around. And I think that's a good thing to remember, is it's not, I think a lot of people get sucked into a lot of movements or causes or whatnot, and they might believe in the cause a little bit. Again, when it comes to things like Project Mayhem, yeah, everyone's probably against Starbucks corporate profits and the blandness of how society is getting all just profitized. And while you may agree with that, and I guess that's how you get sucked into the extremism, is you kind of agree with something, you have a sentiment, and you find this group that might not start off outwardly extreme, but shares that sentiment a lot, gives you a place to verbalize that sentiment, feel it, and then gives you that community, that space where other people are there, where you feel accepted. And then once you get in that space where you feel accepted, then they can start dialing up the crazy, the extremism. And because you're already enamored with maybe the leader or the other members, you're just going to go along with it because it feels right, because they're, again, agreeing with something that you feel, and you want to feel part of something bigger. I think a lot of people really are sick of being individuals. And that's what America, we're really good at, is just all being in our individual houses, watching our individual screens. And I think people are kind of getting sick of that in a weird way that you don't want to take the medicine, though, which is just going out and meeting other people, being part of community. And instead, we engage in these really toxic communities like Project Mayhem. Because, again, if Jack probably just went out and joined a church or something and earnestly just, got to know his neighbors, he'd probably be fine. His problem wasn't society as a whole. It was what he was prioritizing. He was prioritizing work, he was prioritizing stuff, but he wasn't prioritizing people. That's why Martha, it's really like Martha who kind of jumpstarts a lot of the story. Once he meets Martha and realizes he has this longing for someone else, that Tyler starts to really take over. And I think that's when he started to realize just how lonely he is. I mean, it's been building. Like he said, he just travels all the time. It's kind of like, again, the idea of the menu. If you've seen the menu, the mess, sure, you could be successful, but it could come at a great cost. And a lot of times, for at least in Jack's case, it was his personal relationships. It was his health. He didn't need to go that far, okay? And that's kind of the problem with the whole Fight Club, bro, Project Mayhem, let's tear the whole system down, is a lot of people are okay with this system because they can kind of walk this tightrope. Yes, there are a lot of problems with capitalism, with America. There's homelessness, there's food insecurity, but these are complex issues that destroying the whole system is not going to automatically fix, okay? I, for one, am happy there's mass transit of goods and shipping. While it's not perfect, it's still a testament that a lot of grocery stores have food on the shelves, where I'm sure in a post-Project Mayhem Fight Club world, Tyler described it himself. He wants to be looking across Manhattan and everyone wearing fur coats and we're plowing fields and whatnot. And I guess that sounds cool. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's more gratifying once you're actually in it. It's like being in a pool. The idea of being in a pool just sucks because you have to take off your clothes, and you gotta jump in, and then it sucks because it's cold at first and it's wet, but eventually maybe you just get used to it. I mean, humanity's pretty adaptive, so if that's just what happens, that's just what happens. But luckily, like I said, I don't think we're gonna get a group that is gonna be that committed to an act like Project Mayhem, because we're too glued to our phones, our digital trackers that we love and accept. This is Media Philosophy, exploring the deeper side of entertainment.